What's going on, guys? Tyler Breeze, Prince Pretty King of Qville, definition of delish, all that stuff. And you're here on Counted Out.
This episode of Count It Out with Mike and Tyler is provided by Cottage Spring.
You are listening to Count It Out with Mike and Tyler.
Well, we are live, pals, and welcome to another edition of the Bill Apter Seal of Approve, provided by Cottage Springs. Count It Out with Mike and Tyler. My name is Tyler. I am joined by the one and only Mike, and in a little bit of time, we are going to be joined by one of the best tag teams that hit the Ontario scene over the last 2 years. They're heading back home to Australia, and we wanted to sit down and just relive their journey here in Canada. It's going to be Kaz Jordan and Julian Ward, Australian Takeover. But before we get to that, Mike, how the hell are you?
Oh, I'm beautiful, buddy. Especially, I'm in a really good mood. I put a couple of these things down.
That is the Cottage Springs
Yeah.
Springer
Yeah.
drinks, the 7%ers. Nice hat.
Yeah. We just got off. I'll pull the curtain back. We just finished the interview with Australian Takeover. It's already done. We just talked to the boys, and during that, I put away 6 of those.
Did you really?
So,
Holy shit. I could hear it in your voice towards the end of it. I was like, I think Mike's got a little buzz going here.
I feel real good. Those things, the cans are this big, but they pack a punch, man. They're so good, and they taste so good.
Well,
I can't tell you how good those things taste.
we're talking about Cottage Springs here, so let's throw it right now to the Cottage Springs Punch Out of the Week, and then I want to hear you talk about Cottage Springs a little bit more before we talk about your actual moment. So without further ado, let's hear the Cottage Springs Punch Out of the Week. And now, the Cottage Springs Punch Out of the Week. Find your favorite flavors at cottagesprings.ca. All right, so Mike, I know this is your week for the Punch Out of the Week, but before we get to the Punch Out, I want to talk a little bit about the Cottage Springs because you finally have, well, not finally, but we haven't talked about you and the new flavors. I feel like I've done the last few Cottage Springs Punch Outs, and I haven't got to talk and get your opinion on some of these new flavors. So
I keep telling you every week I haven't been able to make it to the store, and I finally got my hands on some of the new flavors. And some of them for me, some of them are not bad by any means, but not for me. But some of the really good ones, I'll tell you what they are. Tangerine is for me.
Tangerine is good.
That tangerine, and I believe it's one of the. It might be one of the 7%. I can't remember.
No, it's not.
But
It's not 7%. Oh, bless you to the fiance doing a running over there.
It's so good. The tangerine is not only my favorite of the new flavors, it might be one of my favorites, top 3 favorites of them combined.
I'm a big fan of that one as well. You drank probably about 100 of the Springers during our interview with ATO.
I love the Springers. I absolutely adore the Springers.
Yeah, they are a favorite in my household as well. I need to go and pick up some Springers. It's been a while since I've had them in the house.
Forgive my ignorant pronunciation, but the blueberry acai or acai.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it either, but it is so friggin' good.
It's really good. The blackberry, the straight blackberry, I really like.
Yeah, you know what's funny? Like I'm
the
not
blackberry lemon is okay, but the blackberry, really good.
I'm not a big blackberry fan in general, and I like all 3 of the blackberry flavors. Like I think they're all awesome. So
yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
Cottage.
I'm loving it, man. Cottage Springs can't F up.
Yeah, I got hammered on
they have
yesterday.
flavors that I don't like only because I don't like those things like watermelon and mango. I don't like watermelon. I don't like mango. So
I'm not a big like mango fan in general. Yeah. So like I drank a mango one yesterday and I was like, yeah, this is like, considering I hate mango, I was like, that's not bad.
But I'll tell you something. I kept all the watermelon ones and I kept all the also the pineapple. I kept all the pineapple ones. and I gave them to my wife, and she loves them.
I like the pineapple ones. They grew on me as well.
Yeah. But I
yes,
don't like pineapple. So
we're in the middle of a heat wave here in Canada with Mike's air
Christ.
conditioner being broken, and I was sitting in the backyard yesterday doing my preparation for our Australian Takeover interview, and I accidentally drank 5 Cottage Springs in an hour. And I think we had a great interview because I think I put together some great questions live. I enjoy my Cottage Springs.
I went to the cottage for Father's Day. It was the first Father's Day I ever had off. And I didn't accidentally drink 4, 8, 12, 15.
Oh, new high score, Mike.
18 Springs.
I meant for counting. New high score.
Yeah.
Well, let's get to your punch out. Let's get to your punch out of the week here. I'm dying to know.
Responsibly, kids.
Yes, unless you're on Count It Out, then you can do whatever the fuck you
want. Punch out of the week, I think, is probably obvious, but maybe not, because there are I'm just gonna say it, the stupid wrestling fans who are crapping on it.
Well, and we don't know either what's happened. As we're recording this, it's Tuesday night at 9:00. So NXT's Battle Royal is still happening as well. So we don't know, but I think
by the time the show comes out, we don't know what happened on NXT, and we don't know what happened on Dynamite.
Which shouldn't matter.
We do know what happened on Monday Night Raw.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to start by saying this is one of the best episodes of Raw I've seen in maybe a year or 2 or 3. All around, it was a great Raw, from the amazing Braun Breaker spot to the Drew McIntyre stuff to the last 5 minutes of Raw. And I didn't see Raw right away. You texted me about 3-4 minutes after it went off there, and you said, watch the last 5 minutes of Raw right now. So I was lucky enough not to get any spoilers. I didn't know what happened. I just went off what you were saying, and I watched the last 5 minutes of Raw, and I saw the debut of the Wyatt Six. Now, your first question to me, Tyler, was, what is your thoughts? That's all you asked me. You wanted to know. You didn't give me your opinion. You just wanted to know what I thought. And I believe, I'm not looking at my text right now, I just want to go off memory. I believe what I told you was, number one, it was beautifully shot.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't miss Kevin Dunn at all.
No.
The Braun Breaker spot proved how much I don't miss Kevin Dunn. Number two, it was a beautiful, wonderful tribute to Wyndham Rotunda.
Mm-hmm.
It really was. And number three, it has me asking, what's next? What can they do? Where are they going? And that's a good thing in professional wrestling. You want to ask questions. You want to know where you're going. You want to. Now, can they fuck this up? Of course they can, but they can fuck up anything. There's a lot of things that can go wrong in professional wrestling. But if I'm basing it strictly off their debut, I'm saying this is a 10 out of 10. This is a win. To break down for anyone who hasn't seen this yet, it was a beautiful segment where the lights go down, very, very reminiscent of what they did. What was it? Was it Extreme Rules?
Extreme Rules, yeah.
Yeah. Where Bray made his return, where the lights go down and you see the outline of that door, and then the door blows open. But this time what they do, and you brought up something to my attention that I didn't really realize. I love your way of thinking. You realized this during the Drew McIntyre segment, that they really showed you earlier in the day what Gorilla is supposed to look like.
Mm-hmm. I thought that was a nice little touch.
So now they take the camera into Gorilla at nighttime, and this is not what it's supposed to look like. The lights are out, there's smoke everywhere, and there are bodies strewn across the entire area. Now, as you're going, you're seeing characters of this new stable. The first person you see is obviously Nikki Cross. I think. I think you can say that it's quite obvious that Nikki Cross is playing this character. A lot of people assume that it's Sister Abigail, but we don't know that. But it is a female character played by Nikki Cross. That's all we know. You go past her, you go in the back. The first character you see, I can't remember the name of the character. I believe it's Ramblin' Rabbit.
I don't know off the top of my head. That's definitely Eric Rowan.
And Ramblin' Rabbit is obviously played by Eric Rowan with the big beard. You keep going, you see Mercy the buzzard sitting there with his crossed legs. This is assumed to be Dexter Loomis. As you go, you see Huskus the pig. I think that was his name.
Something like that.
Very different look for the character. The assumption for this character is that he's played by Joe Gacy.
Yeah, I don't know much about him.
Yeah, NXT guy. Good hand. I'll give you that much. And then, of course, you go on. And as you're going on, you see all these like bodies just thrown around. The only one you really know for a fact is Chad Gable.
Gunter as well. Gunter was one of them.
Now, this is what they're saying. That I don't think it's that obvious.
Chad Gable was
made obvious. They focus on his head. They focus on his face. He's got blood down his face. That was Chad Gable. Everybody else, it's a question mark. I want to get to your Gunther thing in a second. And then you go on and you see Uncle Howdy. And he starts walking back towards the crowd. And I don't know if you caught this, Tyler, but as soon as he goes out there, you can see the smile go on Uncle Howdy's face. And you got to believe that that's Taylor Rotunda just really taking in that moment and saying, holy shit, Wyndham, we did it. You know what I mean? Like, that's got to be a moment of pride for Taylor, Bo Dallas. And he comes out and he grabs that lantern from in front of Nikki Cross, blows it out and says, we're here. And we go blank. And that's where they leave us. And now we're left to wonder, where are we going to go? There's lots of places we can go. Are they good? Are they bad? We don't know yet. Based only on this debut, I'm loving it. I love what they did. To your question, though, you said that you believe that one of those bodies was Gunther. I hope to God you're wrong.
Me too, because that guy's getting ready to challenge for the world title.
Yeah. I think it'd be a dumb idea to have Gunther in that.
I think we should have saw some producers laid out, like a TJ Wilson and a Daivari or a Biss. I think that would have been a good effect.
I think that would have been great. Even a Triple H.
Yes, but I think too soon.
Sure.
That should be a bigger moment. Like, that should be a focal point.
Or an Adam Pearce.
Yeah, Adam Pearce would have been a good one.
You know,
again, big moment though. Like, I think the way they did it was good. I don't think they need to take everybody out yet.
Exactly. I think it's great. Where does this go for characters like Chad Gable? Because now you're like, okay, well, where does Chad Gable go from here? And I don't want to have those questions about Gunther.
Yeah.
You know? I hope that person, and because another question, a lot of people think that one of those people were Braun Breaker.
Oh,
I hope they're wrong.
I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna play a wait and see approach on this one. I thought the angle was really cool, but I haven't been a fan of the build up to it. I thought it dragged a little bit too much. I
think they should have done this a few weeks ago.
I think that it was almost to a T a copy of what they did with Bray already. So I wasn't as excited this time around. And like, I wasn't into Uncle Howdy the first time around. So I like at least that they're portraying these people as psychopaths this time.
Yes.
But I'm going to wait a couple more weeks before I give my full opinion on how I feel about this.
I think I'll be able to have my full opinion after Money in the Bank.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment.
I think they'll do something big at Money in the Bank. I really do.
That's a hell of a punch out of the week, man. It's a big moment.
I agree.
But you have a big moment you want to throw to really quick as well before we get to ATO.
I do. We have a first time ever segment on this show that comes off
interview.
A bonus interview, you're right. Which comes up something that we didn't get a chance to talk about last week because I didn't get to come on the show. But had I come on the show last week, we definitely would have talked about Barry Wrestling's Golden Glory. Barry Wrestling's Golden Glory 7 happened a few weeks ago, and it was a great show. One of the first shows that I've been to in a long time. I finally got to get to a show. I don't think I've been to a show since September.
It's been a while.
So yeah, so to be at this show was really fun. But it was very special to me because this show was the very first show ever I got to take my son to. My son's almost 6 years old. He's become a big wrestling fan. I've talked about this several times in the show. He's a big fan of Tito Santana and Hulk Hogan, which is amazing to me. But I've also been showing a lot of IWTV. And he loves Pretty Ricky. He loves Van Lannon. He loves Barry Wrestling. So it only made sense after his first show for me to shoot a little 5-minute segment called Barry Wrestling with Finny. And my son comes on and he gives you his honest opinion on Pride and Glory 7. So I hope you guys really enjoy this segment. And then, who are we talking to again, Tyler?
We will be talking to Mr. Kaz Jordan, Mr. Julian Ward, Australian Takeover, ATO. But first, let's hear from the Finster.
We are live, pals. Welcome to Mike and Tyler.
Good job. Welcome to Count It Out with Mike and Tyler. You probably already have been listening to the show, but this is a little segment we're going to stick in the middle. This is going to be called Wrestling Reviews with Finny. Yeah?
Finnick.
No, with Finnick, because he's a big grown-up boy today. Are we going to review Barry Wrestling? Yeah. So Finnick, as he likes to be called right now, even though he usually likes to be called Finny, went to his very first wrestling show ever on June 8th, which was Barry Wrestling's Golden Glory. So my first question for you, buddy, how was your first wrestling show? That's it? Just good? Yeah. Did you have a good time?
Yeah.
Tell us about it. What was the feeling like when you walked in and saw the wrestlers? Look at the camera. Tell us how you felt when you saw everybody. You were looking for Pretty Ricky? Yeah. How did it feel when the show started, when you got to see all the matches? Was it exciting? Yeah. What do you think your favorite match was?
The team match.
The team match? You mean the one with Pretty Ricky in it?
And Bigfoot.
Oh, the one with Bigfoot in it. Yeah, that was really cool with Eli Surge.
Yeah.
All the guys there. That was fun, wasn't it? You really liked Bigfoot. That was a lot of fun. If you guys haven't seen that match, you can go to IWTV to watch it. Yeah. Who was your favorite wrestler? You got to meet pretty much all the wrestlers that day. Who was your favorite person to meet? Pretty Ricky. And who else did you get to meet that day?
Shiloh.
You got Shiloh. Yeah, you really liked Shiloh, didn't you?
Yes.
You met Jesse V. That was big for you, wasn't it? Jesse V was really cool. Who else? Did you meet the new Three Pistols champion?
Carl.
Who's Carl?
I mean, that guy was free champion.
I don't know who you're talking about. I'm talking about Van Landon.
Yeah, but I'm talking about.
Oh, you're talking about Kyle, not Carl.
Yeah, Kyle.
Kyle Boone.
Yeah,
you're right. At one point, he was holding 3 championships. He was holding the tag team championships and Shiloh's women's championship.
Yeah, because he take it away.
Yeah, you really like Kyle Boone, didn't you? What really special thing happened to you during the main event?
One thing about Shiloh versus No. So when Kyle Boone wanted to go in the wrestling ring, the referee said, "No, you can't go in," but he got in.
Yeah, and then what did he do?
He did
he hit somebody with the belt? Who did he hit?
Shiloh.
He hit Shiloh. Why? Shiloh's his girlfriend. Why would he hit Shiloh? Because he got her disqualified. That was cheating, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He's a big cheater, isn't he?
He was. But I know who won in his round.
Who?
Carl Wheeler. Wheeler won.
Wheeler did win his match, didn't he? Yeah. And Wheeler beat Kyle, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. That was a fun match. That was Daddy's favorite match. Did you know that?
Yeah, whenever he's saying, yeah, say boo to me.
Yeah.
Boo, boo.
He wanted people to boo him, didn't he?
Yeah, because
Now-
he was a bad guy.
Now, before we're done this, I want to ask you, during the match, the main event, you got the high five Van Landen, thank you. And you were so excited. What happened right after that? You lost a tooth in the match, didn't you? You were very excited. How was that your very first tooth you ever lost? Yeah. So what do you think? Do you think we're ever going to go back to a Barry wrestling show? Yeah. You want to go back again one day? Yeah. And do you want to say thank you to anybody? Do you want to say thank you to all the wrestlers?
Yes.
And thank you to Sean Gibson.
Yes.
And thank you, Barry.
But I didn't see some.
Yeah, you met Sean Gibson. Sean Gibson was the owner. He came and talked to you, gave you a fist bump. And do you want to thank all of Barry Wrestling?
Yeah.
And Brian the photographer?
Remember that Travis?
Travis Moore. Yeah, you met Travis Moore. Yeah.
Travis Moore. You didn't see him for a long time.
No, I haven't seen Travis for a long time. That's right. It was really nice to see Travis. Yeah. All right. Anything else to say to the Counting Out listeners? What?
So, one time when I was in the car, on the electric line, I saw shoes.
Anything to say to the Counting Out listeners about wrestling?
That was about
No, I don't think it was. All right, buddy. Well, can you tell everybody that they've been counted out?
You got counted out by Mike and Tyler.
Cheers.
We have the absolute pleasure of being joined right now by a couple gentlemen that are getting ready to say goodbye to us in our great country here in Canada and head back home to Australia. We have Kaz Jordan, Julian Ward, Australian Takeover, ATO. I got some practice doing that in the barrier ring there. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming and doing this. How you guys doing?
Very well. Thank you for having us.
Well, first things first, before we get into everything, I think I can speak on behalf of the entire Ontario independent scene. We're going to miss the hell out of you guys. Because you guys were here for, is it 2 years that you were here?
Yeah.
And
2 years. So I was here for 2 years, and then Jules was here for like 18 months. So.
Yeah, I came back 6 months after. So,
well, you guys made a hell of an impression on not just the wrestling part of it, but also the locker rooms and people like us. So, great work what you guys have done here. We are going to miss you, but I want to kind of go right back to the beginning because we've been in the Barrie locker room a couple times and we had some nice conversations, but I don't really know too much about you guys. So I'd love to know, and I'll start with you on this one, Julian, and then Kaz after. Where does your love for professional wrestling come from?
Yeah, I'm pretty generic story as far as that one goes. I started watching probably when I was 7 or 8 years old. In Australia, we have we call it Foxtel. It's our equivalent of cable. And so I didn't have Foxtel because I wasn't rich, but my cousins and stuff had Foxtel, so I'd go over on Raw used to air on Wednesdays. It was delayed, eh?
Yeah,
so we used to get Raws on Wednesdays. So I'd go over on Wednesday nights after school and watch Raw, and from there, I stayed into it until I got older. In the high school years, I kind of drifted away from it a little bit when I discovered girls and drinking and those things, and wrestling wasn't that exciting anymore. But I actually got into the Australian independent scene toward the end of high school, and that kind of reignited my love for wrestling. I didn't really realize there wasn't an independent wrestling scene, so I kind of caught on to indie wrestling when I was probably 16, and then by 17 I'd started training. So that's my love of wrestling. Kazi?
Yeah. So I was pretty similar. I started watching. I was like 9 or 10. I actually had Foxtel, so I was actually lucky, So I used to go to my dad's house and watch it every Wednesdays, and I think it was Fridays or Monday.
I think SmackDown aired on Friday.
Yeah. So I'd always just watch my dad's house. That was main reason I went to my dad's house sometimes. So, and then I'm pretty much the same with Julesy. So I pretty much stopped watching it roughly between when I was in late high school. And then I've always I don't think during high school I always said to people, I'm just going to go start wrestling, blah, blah, blah. But I actually started a bit later. So I started when I was 20 years old. So it's a bit different, but yeah, I've just started, been doing it since then, you know, so fun.
See, that's what I did wrong. I was watching wrestling instead of getting the girls and drinking.
I
God damn.
didn't say we're getting any girls, but we're trying.
That's all you can ask for, eh?
That's it.
So you guys did your training, and doing my research here, Kaz, it's true you did some training with Sean Spears and Tyler Breeze eventually?
Yeah, so I actually I moved to Melbourne for wrestling. So I started with Carlo Cannon, who was actually like the first graduate of Lance Storms. So I did that. I was there for like 6 years. I started in Melbourne for 6 years. I'm actually originally from Perth. So I actually never met Jay Ward until like when I went back to Perth pretty much. So, but yeah, I started there I was training with Carlo for like 5 to 6 years. COVID happened, moved back, saved up, and then I went over to Orlando to do flatbacks with Breezy and Spears.
Yeah, it's we had Tyler Breeze on the show actually. What a great guy he is. I'm sure you got a lot of knowledge from him. What's some of your big takeaways from working with those guys?
Just how important like the little things are in terms of like character and everything like that. So like I still speak to like for feedback, I still message Breeze, obviously watching my tape and stuff like that. I'm trying to get better, obviously. So yeah, he's always been really good to me. Same with Spears. So I told them I was moving to Canada because I went and stayed in Orlando first before moving to Canada, and they helped me a lot in terms of just like reaching out to people and everything like that. So they were great.
Nice. And then Mike, you uncovered this one about Julian. I didn't know this, but Lance Storm, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, I started training in 2013 when I was 17 in Perth, where we're both from. So Shane Haste is an Australian wrestler. You guys might know he's one half of the New Japan Tag Team Champions at the moment with Mikey Nichols. Shane's originally from Perth as well, and he was wrestling full time in Pro Wrestling Noah, and he did his ACL in that year. So he came back to Perth and he took over training at EPW School of Pro Wrestling, which still operates today. And so I trained with Shane for basically a whole year while he was rehabbing his ACL, and then wrestled around the independents for a couple of years and just kind of felt like I was stagnating. I didn't have a whole lot of people. That's not fair. I did have a lot of people to learn from, but I just need to hear a different voice. The thing with Perth wrestling, Perth being such a small city, a lot of the guys are trained by the same people, so a lot of the guys just wrestle the same way. So I just wanted to stand out a little bit, and I felt like I wasn't progressing at the rate that I'd hoped. So I actually went to Calgary in 2016 and restarted trained again with Lance. And I think that was a good move, even though I'd already been trained and been working for a little while. Going and getting Lance's fresh set of eyes and breaking everything back down to the start really helped me, because I think now I pride myself on being I'm not super flashy, but the fundamentals, I pride myself on being rock solid in the fundamentals, and I attribute that just to being, I basically was trained totally twice by two very good wrestlers. So very lucky in that sense.
So between the two of you, you've got a lot of Canadian background. You've got Breezy Spears, you've got Lance Storm. Does this have anything, or is it just a coincidence you find yourself back here, or what brought you back, and what put you in Canada for this elongated sort of time until now?
You start first.
It's actually a long story. I feel like my wrestling journey has been intertwined with Canada a lot. I don't actually think a lot of people know this story. I think you guys might find it interesting. But so in 2016, I was 20 years old, so I came to Canada as a young man, and obviously, like, that was the first time I traveled. I'm from small town Australia for all intents and purposes. So being that far from home and living in Calgary, I had a great time. I fell in love with the city of Calgary. I still love the city of Calgary today. And so I think going home, I enjoyed. It was also partly like a little bit blinded by the fact that when I was in Calgary, I did nothing besides wrestle full time. So Calgary felt like it reminded me of wrestling, and I wanted to go back and feel like that again. And then the other thing is that Australians can't really get American visas. You need some sort of sponsor or something like that, which is pretty difficult for wrestling. So Canada's always been an easier visa process with the Commonwealth. So I actually did plan on moving back in 2020, and I got here as well. I was actually booked for C4 in 2020, which is 4 years ago. we got all the way here, me and my partner, and we were in Vancouver, and we hadn't even got to Toronto yet. And then COVID started really taking off, and within the first 4 weeks of us moving here, we were contacted by the Australian consulate, and they were basically asking like where we were working, where we were living, just so they could keep an eye on us. And we had no jobs, and we hadn't found an apartment yet, and so we had no answers for them basically. So it just wasn't the right time. So we actually went back home after 4 weeks instead of our 2-year journey. So that was the first time I tried to move here. So I came here in 2016, came back in 2020 for a month. And then Kazi was kind of looking like, I guess he can speak on this after, but he was looking to do the same thing, kind of stop stagnating and get out there and explore a little bit. So I remember we had a coffee one day in Claremont, which is a beautiful city in Western Australia. And I just explained my experience in Canada and tried to help him with any connections that he had. And that kind of reignited the idea of me coming back. So he came here and he beat us here by 6 months and kind of settled his roots down. And then we packed everything up back home and met him over here again for the third time. So I've spent, he has spent 2 years here, but I've spent 2 years here in chunks as well, just with long gaps in between.
Yeah, Kaz, I'd love to hear your mind frame. What narrowed you into Canada? How did you decide this was the place to come?
I have a British passport, and I was hearing about, like, obviously I was a bit unsure what I was going to do, but I knew obviously Canada's close to America. There's a lot more opportunities to be wrestling in America, etc., etc. So before I actually moved to Canada, I went to like New Jersey, New York, and met some like a couple of mates like KM, like Kevin Nash, shout out to him, he's the GOAT. A few other people like that, and they've been great in helping me in just opportunities that, like, since being here and stuff like that, because they have lots of connections. And then I just knew you could get a 2-year working visa. So I was just like, why not? Because it's close. And I heard there's lots of wrestling. Jay Ward told me there's like a bunch of wrestling in Ontario. He just told me everything about it and all the scenes and stuff like that. So I was just like, why not? Because I have a British passport now, so I can go whenever I want. So like, why? Because I know there's a limit between, I think it's the ages of, is it 18 to 35?
Yeah, I think it used to be 30, but yeah, you can't get a visa again until you're 35 now. So
yeah,
you've got time to do it.
Yeah. So there's an age limit between 18 and 35 that you can only get a visa in Canada for like a 2-year working visa. So like I was kind of like in the middle of there. So I was just like, well, why not do it now? Because I might not do it later, sort of thing.
That's fair. And man, like 2 years, 18 months, like that's a long time to be away from home. And, I think people just hear that and they're like, oh yeah, you guys were here for 2 years. That's cool. But you guys were here for 2 years. Like for yourselves personally, and Kaz, I'll start with you on this one. What were some of the sacrifices and biggest things that you had to leave behind at home to make this journey happen? Because I think people kind of undersell what you guys had to leave behind to come here to live this dream out. Yeah,
well, so pretty much everything. I didn't know anyone. I didn't have anyone to speak to. I have no family here. Like all my family's back home, or even like over like different countries and stuff. I literally have no one in Canada. So that was probably the big sacrifice, like leaving my family. Like my parents are quite old, so like like some of these sacrifices like that. And obviously friends, missing weddings, all this type of stuff, birthdays. Like I've missed so many things being here, but I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah, Julian, how about you?
You see us?
Oh yeah,
hang on, we just lost. Yeah. All right, we're back.
You're good. Sorry. That's all good. And Julian, how about you? Like 2 years is a long time. What kind of stuff did you have?
All the same things as Kaz. Obviously, my sister's. I've got a 16-year-old sister. So when I left home, she was 16, and when I get back, she's a grown woman. So it's important 2 years, 18 months that I had to miss. But it's like it's a little bit awkward to like we won't dive too far into it. But obviously, we took like financially it was a massive sacrifice coming here. It wasn't. A financial advisor wouldn't have told us to come. That certainly wasn't part of the reason. And we've fully devoted our lives to wrestling, and like we're trying not to play wrestling, we're trying to live it. So we both have purposefully like obviously wrestlers need a day job to float themselves a little bit, but we've kind of just got like jobs that we can keep out of the way, shit can at any time, in case wrestling gives us an opportunity and we're ready to travel on a dime and stuff like that. But that comes with a massive financial sacrifice. So, we've definitely struggled to get by at times. But I feel like it's the old starving artist thing. I actually quite enjoy it. I think we both do, to be honest. We quite enjoy, just pinching our pennies and trying to get to the next wrestling show and trying to sell some merch and make a bit more so we can eat that week. And it's kind of like the life of it's an old school style life of an outlaw. We like it.
I love it.
You create stories, which we like.
For
So
sure.
like we love telling stories in the end. Like we have like so many stories here that we would not get back home.
Yeah, it's so different.
Yeah. I want to get to some of the promotions and the wrestlers that you've worked with in the last 2 years here in Canada. But before I do, let's start with the real stuff in the ring. Sitting here talking to you guys online or talking to you after a show, something like that, you're two of the nicest guys you could possibly meet. However, when that camera's rolling, when that bell rings, you're two of the biggest douchebags I've ever seen in my life. Tell me, where do these characters come from? How do you come up with Australian Takeover? How do you turn that on? How do you turn on Kaz Jordan? How do you turn it on, Jules? How do you turn on two of the biggest shitheels I've ever seen that makes my 6-year-old son go, they're mean? How did you come up with these characters, guys?
I wouldn't even say it's turned up to a 10. Like if people would know me to a T, I'm pretty annoying. I'm not gonna lie. Like even my coach would say, like, you're just being yourself, like being the Kaz Jordan I know. So I'm just like, yeah, I guess so. But yeah, I don't know. We came together. Obviously, we discussed what we wanted to do, like the characters we wanted to portray in terms of like what we wanted Canada to see. So we saw like I wouldn't say we're two completely different to everyone else, but obviously like we're two unique characters that we can bring to a show.
Yeah, I think that the most important thing with us is just, I guess like our characters' relationship with each other is different. That's one way we stand out. Obviously, I'm much more straight-laced and quiet on shows, and Kaz does most of the talking and the annoying. But I think, I don't know. I feel like we just. I think it blends with real life. Art imitates life, right? Like I said, we've sacrificed so much to be here. We're so desperate to like make an impact and do things properly that everything we do between curtain to curtain is like we don't take anything for granted. We're switched on all the way. We try never to phone it in. We're just totally in it when we're out there, and that's our passion. Obviously, we've devoted so much of our life just to getting that 10 or 15 minutes in the ring. So we definitely don't take it for granted, and we switch on and try and give the crowd as much to work with as possible. And sometimes that manifests in being super annoying, but at least they're feeling something because that's the idea, right? So.
Kaz, I always hear wrestlers say that it's just my personality dialed up to get to that level. You might be the first guy that I've ever heard say I got to tone it down to be a heel.
Yeah, seriously.
Mate, after a few beers, mate, I'm the most annoying person.
He
already owned that fur coat, didn't he, Jules?
Yeah. He's good hard, but he self-admittedly can be very annoying. And fair play to him. At least he's self-aware enough to take all the annoying parts of his personality, of which there are many, and just put it out there for he just lets it all hang out for people to see. And when they hate him for it, it makes us happy. So that's the strange world we live in, I think.
I love it.
Mike, you want to keep rolling? I like you're on a roll there. You want to go with another one?
I'll go for it, man. So let's go straight into everything you've done in the last 2 years. I'm not even going to list them all. There's so many promotions, at least 10 to 12 promotions you guys have worked for in Canada alone. You already mentioned one, Julian. You mentioned C4. I want to go there for a minute because as far as the Ontario scene goes, that's really a must go for the majority of Ontario wrestlers. Is that one of the first places you went to in Ontario? And what was your first experience like in C4, meeting guys like Uno and all the guys and Mark and all the guys that put that together?
So the C4 thing's funny. Like I said before, in 2020 when I tried to move here originally, we spoke a little bit back then, and they had no idea who I was, but I think they appreciated that I was doing something different and getting out there, and so we had agreed on a date in 2020 that never happened, and then. When I got here, Kaz had been here for 6 months. That was March. C4 in January.
This year.
Yeah.
So
we didn't.
it's
So we didn't work for them for almost 8 months or almost a full year.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's definitely one of the top promotions in Canada, and it's got a lot of eyes on it as well. So, which is we like this, but it's super competitive to get on the show. There's only so many guys that men and women that can be on the show. So it's not like you can just send them an email and book yourself. You need to build enough name value, I suppose, that to catch their eye. So we got back in touch with them, and they did respond to us, and we had a conversation, but it was kind of just waiting for a spot to open up. But that's not really me and Kaz's style. So we didn't wait for a spot to open up. We just we kept trying to have the best matches we possibly could. We got ourselves booked out at Acclaimed in Ottawa. And we tried to have, because we know that Ottawa has like a fan base that does attend both shows, and a lot of the wrestlers are intertwined as well. So we went up to Ottawa and just worked as hard as we possibly could, tried to have the best matches possible, and had a few conversations with the guys from C4 there. And I think it didn't happen until January
this year.
Of this year that was our first C4.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's great. It's a big crowd, and they're loud, and you get great footage from it. There's eyes on it. It's one of those places. It's not to bury any other place, because every wrestling show has its own unique charm, but some places you have a match and you definitely feel like nobody's ever going to see it. And then some places you feel like what you're going to do is going to be seen, and it's a good way for us to like cement our legacy on big shows like that. So we've had a great time at C4, and we just got announced for our last one.
Yeah, so our last show in actual Canada is the next show at C4. So
IWTV tag title match.
Nice.
June 25th. Is that the 25th, guys? Am I
28th.
Yeah.
And that's our first straight up singles tag, 2-on-2 tag match at C4. And you guys, if anybody watches C4, they'll understand that because there's so many good wrestlers that are on the show, there's a lot of multi-man matches. So those 2, 3, or 4 straight up matches that they have, that's worth their weight in gold. So we're definitely going to absolutely destroy ourselves trying to have a banger on the way out.
Absolutely, you gotta go with a bang, like you said there. I want to ask you about two people here first, and the first one is staying with the C4 theme. I saw a picture, I think it was on your Instagram, Julian, or it might have been on both your guys' Instagram, with you guys and Sexy Eddie, and you're all doing the famous pose, and it said, if you know, you know, and we know for sure. But what was it like getting to have that moment with Eddie, and what did you know about Eddie before you guys got over here?
So I probably knew more about Eddie than Kazzy did. I like I said, when I was probably 16 or 17, when I rediscovered like independent wrestling, I was just totally obsessive with it and tried to find. I really appreciate the more obscure stuff, so I was trying to find wrestling matches from the deepest, darkest corners of the globe, and stumbled upon a bunch of those old, like deathmatch tournaments and the early CZW stuff, and then a lot of the old IWS stuff. And Sexy Eddie was like, he stood out for obvious reasons. If I said this on my Instagram, but if you know, you know. If you don't know who Sexy Eddie is, then I'm not going to bother explaining it. But if you know who Sexy Eddie is, you know what I'm talking about. He stands out. He's definitely not just another character on the show. And that was viral. Even in Australia, all the guys knew about that. They'd always do this is so nasty, right? So when we finally met him, he was, he's a very. Have you guys met him? Have you ever been around Eddie?
Not for myself.
Briefly.
Yeah,
he's such a gentleman. He's such a nice guy. He was very curious about Australia, so we had quite a lengthy conversation with him. And then at the end, I kind of, they always say, don't be a mark in the locker room, but we don't care. We're only here for a short time anyway. So I said to him that I always remembered that spot, even from being 16 or 17. I always loved the squirting the blood in the mouth. And he was so stumped that we had any idea who he was. He obviously didn't expect that Australia knew Sexy Eddie. So he was, very humbled by that. And then we kind of built a relationship from there. And he actually asked us if we wanted to take a photo and and he did not have to twist my arm. But
It's funny. About a little over a year ago now, Tyler and I were lucky enough to be ringside when GCW came to Canada for the very first time. And Sexy Eddie was one of the Canadian local talents they brought in. He fought Matt Cardona. And anybody who's seen that match on pay-per-view knows that Eddie ended up naked in the match. And it was the only time I think in my life that I didn't feel lucky to be ringside, because we had the perfect view right up Eddie's backside.
He is a one of a kind. You got that right. The other guy I want to ask you guys about, and I feel like that you're officially welcomed in the Canadian independent scene if you've taken a body slam from Psycho Mike. Roughly, how many body slams do you think you guys have taken from Psycho Mike, and how much fun was it working with him and Rhino a little while ago?
Yeah. Well, we've always wondered, like, when I first got here, I actually saw Psycho Mike from the first show when I attended in Toronto. So, and I was amazed with like just his charisma and just everything he does. It's just like we don't have that in Australia. It's just the most unique thing, like, but it's just so entertaining. So, like, obviously that was literally on our bucket list. We wanted to wrestle Psycho Mike. Like, obviously, wrestling Rhino was fucking sick. I shouldn't swear, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. You can swear.
That was sick as well. But, like, obviously, like, Psycho Mike and Rhino together was just like...
Yeah, that was ultimate for us.
Yeah.
Like, we actually had a few times, even at Smash Wrestling, we had floated the idea of we would be willing to do a handicap match with Mike and make ourselves look like complete fools. We wanted it. And then when he got announced with Rhino, it was like I said before, my passion when I was younger was obscure wrestling. So having the Psycho Mac match with Rhino involved was an unbelievable experience. He might. I'm sure I'll think of somebody, but I can't think of anyone off the top of my head I've ever seen that's as creative on the independent scene as him. He's amazing. It's I don't know where it gets. Yeah, it's unreal.
Mike, what do you got over there?
You keep going, buddy. I like you're on the roll.
I feel good. Yeah. See, we got the Canadian politeness going on over here. Yeah. Let's talk about what arguably has to be one of the biggest moments of your guys' whole time over here, and that's getting to do some work with AEW, with the Ring of Honor promotion. Kaz, I believe you were 3 matches with them. Julian, were you 2 matches with them? Am I correct there? Let's kind of just go through the whole process. Take us through what it was like for you guys the first time showing up at AEW and getting that experience.
Yeah, you go, Ryan. I have no idea.
Okay, well, we so I don't really. I mean, obviously, you're just always trying to do enough to get to catch their eye, I suppose. And we had I don't know how much we can divulge, but we definitely had got a hold of like the person we needed to talk to in order to get those type of opportunities. And so we made contact with him a little bit and just introduced ourselves. And it's funny because we did figure out the list, but there's not many Australians that have ever worked for AEW. And the ones that have, there's definitely a few, but the ones that have, we're not like they're our closest friends. So we didn't have a whole lot of people to turn to for advice. So we basically just completely winged it. We got in touch with who we were told to get in touch with, and we put our best foot forward, and we got in the best possible shape we could and got good promo photos and sent those over. And whether it was that or just through the grapevine, eventually they did get in touch with us the first time they came to Montreal. And so, we were surprised by the opportunity. And I've been in wrestling a while now. Like I said, I've been around for a little over 10 years. So it's like with most things, I didn't even think about it until the day of, because I was certain that it was going to be cancelled or I was going to be unbooked or they definitely wouldn't use me. So you always talk yourself out of any excitement. So we went to Montreal just looking to soak up the experience. It was at the Bell Centre, which is one of Canada's most beautiful arenas. And so we just tried to enjoy the day and enjoy being in Montreal. Like we said, we're in it for we love the lifestyle. So catching the bus to Montreal and going to the venue and stuff like that was enough for us. And luckily that first time we did get an opportunity to have a match. We worked against the Righteous that night and, didn't do anything to mess it up too badly. And so we left on good terms and we had an amazing time. And that was more than we could have ever hoped to achieve, really. You never, Mikey Nichols, who's one of my mentors, always says, nobody deserves anything, so you shouldn't feel like you're owed anything. So we didn't feel like we were, a shoo-in to get any opportunities like that. So that first one in Montreal was amazing and we were happy with that. And then when they came back to London, Ontario, the last time, they got back in touch with us, and we were lucky enough to again get another match against Shane Taylor Productions with Lee Moriarty. So we got those 2 spots on Ring of Honor, and like I said, I was a massive Ring of Honor fan in high school as well. So it definitely it was special for sure. We're just grateful and lucky that we got those opportunities and tried to do our job the best we could, and hopefully get more in the future.
When you guys look back at those shows, what are some of your favorite backstage moments? Like, did you get to talk to anybody, pick their brain, get any good advice, or just even maybe moments like between you guys where you're just like, holy shit, like we're backstage at AEW? Like, you have any
It's probably
moments
more
like
of the
that?
second one, to be honest. We tried to maintain constant professionalism and definitely didn't try to talk anybody's ear off. We knew exactly what our job was to do while we were there, so we tried not to overstep any boundaries. But just between each other, like with all the sacrifices and things. I remember specifically in Montreal when we didn't have a whole lot of notice for our match, so we kind of got told last minute, and we were both running to the area where we were getting changed, and it was just us two. And just for, you said we can swear, eh?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Just for a second, our heart's racing a million miles an hour, and it's just us, and there's nobody else around. And just for a second, we're like, "Holy fuck!" Because it feels like it's never going to happen, especially when you're wrestling in front of 14 people in Perth, Western Australia. You really can't see the path to working on basically television. So just being there, and now we don't have to theorize what it would be like there. We have seen it with our own eyes, and we know what it's like. So I think just getting the experience under our belt was worth it. And obviously we did have conversations with good people, a lot of good people there. We made a lot of friends there, especially like a lot of the guys from around Canada that were also doing the extra work there. We got to know. So it's just another good experience along the way.
Now you're playing it really humble there, but at some point you got to look at yourselves and be like, we got to be fucking good. They wouldn't be calling us if we weren't really good. There's got to be that in the back of your head, right?
Listen, after a big weekend of shows, when we get here on sometimes when we get home on a Sunday night after a big weekend of shows, if we crack a beverage or something, we do allow ourselves 90 seconds of fuck, we're killing it, or fuck, that was a good one, or we have obsessive use of the word goat, so we'll often refer to ourselves as the goats. we have absolutely. We wouldn't even be in the top 1 million probably, but sometimes in our own heads for one weekend here and there, and sometimes after a TV taping, we look at each other and we can agree that we're the goats for 90 seconds before it's back to work.
Oh, I love that.
Now, before we get to something a little somber, I want to keep it on the upbeat. I want to ask you guys something. And listen, I'm not trying to we're not that kind of show. I'm not trying to get you to bury anybody. I'm trying to get you to talk good about people. So don't worry about hurting anybody's feelings. But I do want to hear a couple names here on both sides. I'm hoping you guys will give me a couple names of the people, now that you're leaving, a couple names from the Ontario indie scene, from the Canadian indie scene that you're going to miss working with while you're gone. And on the other side, when you get back over, is there a couple people that you can't wait to work with on the Australian side because you miss working with them?
Yeah, there's a bunch in Australia, don't get me wrong, but there's more people we're just going to miss just hanging around, like the locker room and just general things like that, so like we won't, like hopefully we come back again, but it's just like we don't know if we're we don't know.
You never know.
Exactly. Things change, like life happens, so
with that being said, I think some of the best matches of our career have been here in the last 18 months, and I think one thing that benefited us was every time we had a match, it's more likely that you're never going to have that match again than that you will have it again. So
I like that.
In terms of dropping some names, like we were really, really happy with a match we had with Mark Wheeler and Jesse V at Acclaimed. And as happy as we were with it, we think we probably give us a bit more time. We probably could have had a better one. But you don't get that opportunity again. So sometimes you just have to make the most of that one and done. We'd love to. We could work with Psycho Mike every weekend. So we miss guys like that. And then even I didn't get an opportunity to. Kaz is actually working in this Friday night, but I didn't get an opportunity to wrestle against Fueza. So I feel like we would have had a nice clash of styles. So that was one that got away a little bit.
Fueza and Vaughn Vertigo would have been cool.
Yeah, that would have been a great match.
And there's staples of our scene here too, right? You especially Bear. You can't walk into Bear Wrestling and not hear those names every couple minutes. Yeah.
It's funny. Wrestlers are also bitter that when I got here, everyone was talking about Fuerza. So the first match I watched him have, I was like, all right, let's see what this guy's got. And then within 4 minutes, I was like, oh, yeah, he's a beast. Fair enough. So I would like to get that match. But we also had a really good match with Sinner and Saint at Smash Wrestling that we would love to run it back. But, who knows if we'll ever get that chance.
Yeah, they're doing great things right now, too,
there's
with
a few
TNA.
people we missed out. Did we wrestle Vertigo?
I don't think so.
I don't think we got a match with Vaughn. So we wanted Vaughn and Fuerza together.
Vaughn's. I think you have a better chance working Vaughn in Australia these days than you do in Canada. That guy's everywhere. There's not a continent that guy is not hitting.
Yeah, you never have to forget about it. You could be in North Korea and Vaughn would probably be there. I'm sure. And in terms of back home, just quickly, there's just to name drop some of those guys because it's a different fan base. Hopefully, is watching. So if people are curious to check them out, I think back home in Perth, there's a tag team called the Untouchables. Damien Slater, who a lot of people know as World Beater Wrestling. He does the wrestling tutorials on social media. He's one of Australia's best ever wrestlers, and he tags with Marcus Pitt, who's again one of Australia's best ever wrestlers, and together they're killing it as a tag team. So we'd definitely like that one. The Velocities, Paris the Silver and Jude the Dude. They're definitely high up on the list. The Pereira.
We got so many. Even like I don't know, like Shane Haston,
TMDK. That's my dream match. ATO vs TMDK is my dream match, actually.
Well, that'd be a banger for sure. While we're on the scene, while we're on the topic of the Australian scene, is there a couple promotions that maybe us folks over here in Canada should be keeping an eye on, or anywhere maybe where you guys are going to be working that we can keep following what you guys are doing?
Oh, you'd never ask. Yes, sir. No, so let me go coast to coast.
Yeah,
I love Australian wrestling.
Yeah, like put it all over, man.
It reignited my love for wrestling, and one of the big motivations for coming here was to try and drag eyes from this scene back to Australian wrestling. Because when I was a wrestling fan, I loved the thrill of like discovering something I felt like nobody else was watching, and you put other people onto it. I think that's a lot of fun. And so to go to coast, I think in Western Australia, EPW is probably the premier promotion. That's my home promotion and where I was trained. It stands for Explosive Pro Wrestling, and they're an indie in Perth, and they're definitely not. It's not like they're viral and everyone knows all the guys, but they'll regularly do 500, 600, 700 people at shows. The footage looks amazing, and everyone's working as hard as they possibly can. So EPW is amazing. Wrestle Rampage in Adelaide and Riot City Wrestling in Adelaide are both really high quality.
That's the only promotion that I know. I know Riot City. I've seen a couple of their shows. Yeah,
there you go. Right, see, you never know what you'll stumble across and what you will like. So Wrestle Rampage, Riot City in Adelaide, in Melbourne, that's Kaz's territory. It's
like Melbourne City Wrestling, great promotion. Probably like be up there. Like I'm not sure what they used to run on Fire. I'm not sure what they're running at the moment, but it's probably one of the best. Be up the top like 3 or 4 promotions in Australia for sure. And then in Sydney, you got PWA, which is like Robbie. If you know Robbie Eagles, Japan. Yeah. So he's the OG original trainer there. So that's sick.
That's where guys like Grayson Waller came from.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
Riot City Wrestling's where like Rhea Ripley came from. So there's these little like hotspots for wrestling all over the country. But yeah, if I had to just give you a list off the top of my head, it would be EPW, Wrestle Rampage, Riot City, MCW, PWA. And there's obviously a plethora of amazing promotions killing it underneath as well, or on that level as well. But as far as ones we're likely to appear in and whatnot, they'd definitely be up the top of the list.
Yeah, so I know, listen to that. Check out some of these promotions because we're getting great talent like you guys over there. Who knows what we're not seeing, right? So,
and I'm definitely not gonna spoil anyone's life plans, but I have heard whispers that there may be another following in the footsteps, and it's somebody we would put our name to, but we'll keep that under wraps until it's announced.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome to hear for sure. We welcome anyone over here for sure. Like, you guys have been such a pleasure. And do you feel pressure, like just kind of off the top of my head here, but do you guys feel like pressure representing Australia when you come over here? Like, don't come over, act like an asshole because people won't maybe want future people, or are you just like, fuck it, we're just here. Let's do what we know we're here to do.
Not really. Like, obviously, like yes and no. Like, I don't think we come off for those type of guys. Like,
you guys don't at all.
I think we're proud of where we come from, and we tell people all the time we didn't leave Australian wrestling because it sucked. We wanted to get on the road. Like, I'm a massive fan of the old school wrestler. We wanted to go to a new territory for a little while. So,
yeah.
We just wanted more wrestling.
More wrestling.
There's so much wrestling like this side of the world than there is back home, unfortunately.
New opponents. We wanted to get better. But yeah, Australian wrestling is awesome. We have a sense of pride about being Australian wrestlers. So we feel like that's naturally going to translate into being a positive reflection of the Australian wrestling scene. And most people that have come before us from the Australian wrestling scene have represented it well as well. So we just want to be, just like follow the footsteps of the people that came before us.
You guys absolutely represented fantastic. You guys put on great matches, but even bigger than that, like we talked about, you guys are two of the nicest people that we dealt with. It was a pleasure working with you guys up in Barrie. You guys were always so respectful. Kaz and I, we got to do a little fun bit there where he took my microphone and had some fun. So that was good stuff. But Kaz, it wasn't, always great times for you over here. You unfortunately suffered a leg injury. Kind of walk us through, like, not only the injury itself, but like, what does that do to you mentally? Because you're only here for a certain amount of time. Like, it must have been frustrating kind of getting put up on the shelf for that, right?
Yeah, lucky it wasn't as bad as it looked, which is good. Like, it could have been a lot worse, and I could have been out for good the rest of this chip, which I would have been shattered, to be completely honest with you. Because like when I was going in the hospital, I was like, oh, like they were telling me it could be broken, all these like random thoughts in my head. And I was like, oh boy, like this is gonna ruin my I'm here for wrestling. Like there's no I would have been shattered. I would have been shattered. But thank God it was only like 6 weeks. So I've been pretty lucky in terms of like injuries, like in general now, since how long we've been wrestling for here as well, touch wood. But yeah, it was tough, obviously, watching Jay Ward just wrestle and just like me on the side, like going, yeah, like obviously that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to like wrestle. So
luckily those 6 weeks didn't come at the worst time.
Yeah.
But we did miss out on the Fresh Air match, which was originally supposed to be us in Fresh Air, which we were looking forward to. And then we had to get that scoundrel Johnny Atlas to fill Kaz's shoes.
Good replacement. So.
That would have been gold. I mean, I love me some John Atlas, but
he doesn't like me.
That's a match made in heaven right there.
I'm not top tier enough to announce Mr. Atlas.
No,
so
you're not allowed to talk about John Atlas.
It's one of those things about perspective. It was bad, definitely, and I put Kazi in a tough position. Obviously, like fair play to him. He, like I said, but not in a position where he can just stop going to work. So you break your ankle on a Sunday show. On Monday, he just grabbed the crutches and had to jump on the streetcar and go down and go to work. So yeah, it makes everything tough. It's obviously never getting injured is that's the one thing wrestlers try to never happen and try to pretend will never happen. But the other side of the coin is that 6 weeks was what it was, and he recovered and touch wood. It's been good since then. So.
That's great. And you're charismatic, so charismatic too, Kaz. You on the outside doing that work. I was phenomenal to watch you just be the loudmouth manager talking shit and then running away, trying to run away, right? Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
That's why I was glad when you said earlier, you said, is there pressure and don't act like an asshole. Julian goes, seriously, I gotta ask you that. Is there anything in this time now? Is there anything you've learned from the Ontario scene, from the Canadian scene, that you're going to take back to Australia?
Yeah, definitely. Specifically, I'd say one of the biggest lessons was the way we conduct ourselves in terms of the business aspect of wrestling. So in Australia, it's not quite the same in terms of the way you will talk. And the scene's so small that we know everyone so well that often it's just kind of more of a friend's handshake deal as opposed to trying to network and actually do business with people you don't know to try and get opportunities and things like that. So just navigating the sort of more business side of wrestling, with things like money and things like that have been a big lesson here because it's not really the priority back home. And then just with the amount we've been wrestling, just the ability to be able to read a crowd, because we've wrestled in front of so many different crowds, whether it's in Sudbury, Ontario, or Collingwood, Ontario, or Winnipeg or Montreal or Halifax. We've wrestled in so many different places that the crowds are obviously always different. They're always wanting to see different things. And the way that we try to stand out is just give the crowd exactly what they want, send them home as happy as we possibly can, and make some memories. So the ability to read and adapt to different crowds and be a little bit more relaxed in the ring, just because, my busiest year ever in wrestling was 43 matches in Australia. And I was talking to Jax Williams recently, who said he had 60 last year, and he's fairly new. So just the ability to constantly get reps and in front of different crowds and that kind of thing has definitely been a lesson. And then also until we came here, we hadn't really spent time on the road. So the long drives, the 6 hours to Ottawa, 6 hours back in the same day, and things like that that hasn't really been a lesson. It's just been my favorite bit, to be honest. But it is a lesson in how to live on the road, I suppose, how to travel on the cheap.
Well, and it all depends on who you're with, right? I mean, that's the first thing we learned from McRae Martin. McRae was saying, if he's by himself or with somebody else, maybe, it can make for a long trip. But if he's in that car with someone like Junior Benito, a 6-hour drive is 1 hour drive, right?
Yeah.
If you like the guy you're with, it's not that bad of a travel. It's a good part of the job.
Yeah, we were lucky to have fairly good road partners the entire time through. Some of those drives definitely felt quicker than others. When Pretty Ricky's doing a free stand-up comedy show in the front seat of his car and we're sitting in the back, that drive goes pretty quick.
That's amazing.
That's fantastic.
You mentioned Pretty Ricky, and let's segue into a little bit of Barrie wrestling then. That's where Mike and I got to know you guys, and I was lucky enough to do some work with you guys, which was phenomenal. Let's tell me a little bit about your experiences with Barrie and your overall memories of working up there. What are you going to take away from it?
Yeah. So I actually had my first appearance in Barrie in January last year. I did like a little rumble, thing. I have only had great experiences with obviously the owner. I won't say his name, but the owner, Sean, whatever.
Yeah, he's okay. He's been on the show before.
Barrie is quite a difficult show to get on, even by myself. So obviously I had to explain to him, obviously, who we are, what we could bring to the show, everything like that. And then I think as soon as he saw what we brought, I think he wanted to obviously just keep using us, I think, which is good for us. So the locker room is it's the best locker room. Is everyone's so great, it's run very well, it's easy, and the show starts early, finishes early, so everyone's home in a reasonable time, which is amazing. So
yeah, I think with Barrie, back home, there's more home promotion sort of situations where often the training school will be linked to a promotion, and that'll be your home base, right? So that's the locker room you're most comfortable with. Those guys are your friends. That's where you can kind of work on your character. And so getting here, we obviously every show we went to was brand new, and we could never be ourselves and stuff. And we feel like Sean gave, I don't know why he didn't name me, goes out there and talks on the mic after that. We feel like Sean gave us a home promotion where we did every show for the most part. We did every show, and the guys in the locker room became our friends, and we were comfortable there. And we tried when we changed we had a finish when we got here that we thought sometimes fell a little bit flat in certain situations. So when we wanted a new finish, we trialed stuff with Barrie, and Sean gave us creative license to basically, for the most part, do whatever we want within the confines of our situation on the card. So Barrie was gave us such an opportunity to grow, and then thankfully we feel like we mostly hit home runs in Barrie, and that little combination of them giving us a chance and us doing our best possible work, I think led to a good, healthy relationship at Barrie, which we would consider our Ontario home base.
Yeah. For sure.
I think we did more Barrie bookings than anything else.
Any promotion, probably. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Now, before I ask you about your send-off in Barrie, I got to ask, there's a certain match that Sean Gibson has created in Barrie about a year ago that I looked and said, "What the hell are you doing, Sean?" And Tyler said, "This is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my fucking life." And it is the Wild Rovers match. Now, when he decided to do a second one, he calls you guys up and he says, "I want you in this." What do you say to Sean? When you look at this and you go, "What is a Wild Rovers match?" What's your first impression when he comes to you with this?
So me and Cassie did have a quick chat before this. Cassie doesn't love the public speaking so much. So he said, any questions that are kind of tricky to answer, I'll answer. The reason I'm answering this question in particular, though, is because Cassie didn't know a fucking single thing about that match, about what he didn't understand what the idea was. He didn't understand the concept. He didn't understand the rules. Sean said, forget all that. All I need you to do is bring a football shirt. He said, I don't have a football shirt. So Kaz was completely useless in that match. And I understood what Sean was going for, but I didn't have too much of an idea what to do either. So thankfully, like we said, liberal use of the word goat, but Stratos, the goat, he was the man with the ideas. And that match ended up being, like you said, I guess we'll segue into it. That was our goodbye match for Barry. And I'll admit, even I was like, when we told Sean it was our last show and we want to do something fun and say goodbye to the Barry fans, and he sent that, I was like, fucking hell, sure. Like, you did not read the room. But, I'll put my hand up and admit I was wrong, because I couldn't have thought of anything better. It was the most fun.
I will too, man. The concept, maybe it's because I'm not a soccer or a football fan. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's I just don't get the concept. But both times, goddamn, was it entertaining, and especially this one. And he picked the right guys. Pretty Ricky's one of the greatest in the scene right now. Yeah. The royal family are hilarious. And then you got you two. And when you want to talk about the match itself, there was some really cool stuff. Of course, Ferreira's is in there. Stratos in there. You're in there. But I can't take away from you, Kaz, and your charisma. Your charisma was built for a match like this. You're so funny. You're so clever. And this match is built for people like you. So I go in and I'm going, all right. I'm like, first of all, this match isn't going to be great. Second of all, why are they putting it right in the middle of the card? I don't understand any of this. I'm with you, Julian. I'm putting my hand up and saying I was wrong. That match was so good, so funny. You guys are hilarious in it. And then during the match, Sean's coming around and he comes up behind me and he gives me a ball of streamers. I said, why do I want these? And he says, it's ATO's last match. All right. So I knew right away he wants to say goodbye to you in a special way. And we don't see this every time. Every time somebody leaves the territory, it's not like they're getting the pomp and circumstances. This was important to him to say goodbye to you guys. Do you really feel that kind of love from that promotion in that way? Like, what was it like for you guys to be given the mic and say, hey, it's time for you to say goodbye to these guys?
You're the emotional bloke, mate.
I'm not really a talker. I know I look like a talker, but obviously, exactly. So when that happened, I was like, oof, I don't know what to say. So obviously, I shoved it to Jay Ward, and I was like, I don't know. I'm pretty.
Did he put you on the spot, or did you know he was going to do this?
Totally on the spot.
We sort of had
totally on the spot.
Yeah,
we had an idea that he was going to do something, but we were thinking more like group hug at the end of the show, not like as in the locker room, not like a full presentation. But I'm never a particularly emotional person. I think I'm mostly pretty stoic. But when the Barry fans who have abused us for the best part of 18 months, when off their own volition they gave us a standing ovation, and some of the words people said to us on the way out, and then obviously what Sean said to the crowd. And we understand that most people don't get a send off like that, and we were very grateful for that. And it was quite nice as well, because it kind of validated our decision to come here in a way, because we were just hoping that in wrestling you don't really ever know if you're any good or not. You just get feedback from people around you, and you hope you're telling the truth. And so we backed ourselves that if we go to a new territory where nobody knows us, we think by the end that we'll mean something to the people in the crowd, and then to get a visual display of people reciprocating that on that night was like it was like, all right, we made the right decision, and we backed ourselves, and we gave everything to the Barry fans, and they did appreciate it.
Well, you said two things, and I know the Ontario crowd. I've been watching Ontario wrestling now, Ontario indie wrestling, since 1998. So I've been around. I've seen things. I know how passionate these crowds are. So you said two things right there, Julian. You said that they abused the crap out of you for the last 18 months, and you said that they really gave you some nice words and some send-offs. Number one, that means you did your job as heels. If they abused you, That's because they loved your heel work. And they loved your heel work so much that they're going to miss booing you when you're gone, which is where that praise comes from. Ontario Indies, the fans wear their hearts on the sleeves. If they don't like you, if they don't like you on a personal level, they're just not going to give you a reaction.
Yeah.
If they don't like you because you're the best heels on the scene, you're going to know it. And you guys got booed out of the building every month in Barrie. So that just shows how good you guys were doing.
And you got ketchup chips.
And the ketchup chips, yeah.
I said, and you got ketchup chips, which got one of the biggest pops of the night, by the way. That made me laugh. I popped really hard going back to that Wild Rovers match. I don't know if you guys have had the chance to watch it back or not yet, but Mike Jeffries on commentary is having to basically be like, shut up, Tyler, because when you guys brought the orange slices out and Kaz, you're dead on the ground, I lost my mind. I was like, they got fucking orange. I'm trying not to swear, it's just Barrie, right? But I'm like, holy shit, fucking orange slices. And to the point where Mike Jeffries had to say something on commentary. That was amazing. The halftime spot, I popped so hard. Like, that's just so absurd and ridiculous. And I just think it was such a perfect send-off for you guys, you know, because we've seen you guys go out and have banger after banger, triple dragon, and I know Kaz, you were hurt, but against Trent Seven and Alexia Nicole for you, Julia, which was one of the best matches of the year in Barrie. So for you guys to go out and get that fun send-off and get to feel that love, like, we were all very happy that you guys got that moment, and it was genuine too. That's the one thing, like Mike said about the Barrie fan base, they're fantastic. And they're real, and you guys earned the respect of everybody, not just in Barrie, but all across Ontario. And you know, we appreciate you guys coming over here for the last couple of years.
It's been great, man.
Wrestling is real. The outside world is fake. That's what we say.
100%. Mike, we're coming towards the end of our time here with our friends. You got anything you want to?
I just
you got a few more.
I just exhausted most of my questions, man. There's just. I have so many more questions asked about the Australian scene. It could take us all day long, but we want you guys back. I'll stay up till 4:00 in the morning when it's lunchtime for you guys, and have you back up to know what's happening on the Australian scene. Give us an idea when you get back. Number one, I got to ask you, you guys still have a title match left over. What are the chances you're going home with those IWTV titles?
Certain.
Yeah, 100%. Well, wait, IWTV. Yeah, you can take it back home to Oz. That'd be sick.
Yeah, it'd be amazing. Represent IWTV back home.
Yeah, it's like it's not C4, so I don't see why not.
Yeah,
right. IWTV is all over the world.
Yeah, it's all over the world. It's a show.
We had a couple fan listener questions as well that I just wanted to get to really quick before I ask you my last question. This one comes from our fellow good friend, Mr. Holden Albright, who I was speaking to earlier today. And it's specifically for you, Julian. He wants you to rank your facial hair styles and what your mental state was for all of them.
All right. There we go. Okay, my facial hairstyles. I'm going to go the combo of my styles. So you remember how I said I moved here in 2020 and then had to go home after a month? At that time, I shaved I grew a long beard that was unkempt. I'm like purposely ungroomed, so it went wider than it did long. So it was like sort of like what's
Gimli?
No, what's that Tom Hanks movie where Castaway?
Oh, Castaway.
Like
Yeah.
And then I shaved in a mohawk. I was trying to send the photo to you guys. I shaved because I was in isolation as well because we just traveled. So I went mohawk and Castaway beard, and mental state terrible, volatile. Then I had short hair and the well manicured mustache, and that was still trying to be handsome to hold on to my young and handsome. I was a pretty young baby face when I started, believe it or not. And then I went clean shaven, super long mustache, and that was when I gave up on trying to be handsome, and I was like, I'm going to try and be a freak show. So I used to dye my mustache jet black and try and go handlebars. And now my mental state, I would say, is somewhat balanced. And so my mustache is normal colored, and but getting longer.
I'll tell you.
You're trying to get Jay Walter White. You know, the Walter White.
We obviously have nothing to do during the weeknights if we're not wrestling. So me, Kaz, and my girlfriend just did Breaking Bad. And I saw I pointed out some, I think I invented these in my head, but we pointed out some similarities between my character and Walter White, and he wants me to commit to the.
The hat as well. The hat, the glasses.
I thought you told us it was Kaz's crack addiction we weren't allowed to talk about.
It's a swerve. Well, I will say, Julian, if you can send me some pictures of these multiple styles, I will make a reel of the evolution of the Julian Ward facial hair. If you hook me up with some stuff, I'll come through and make you something fun. This one here is from Reza_X's.
It's one of our biggest fans, big supporter of ours.
Yeah, and he wants to know what your favorite match that you had in Canada was.
You want to ready? We'll say it at the same time.
I don't know.
Mine was.
I got two different because they're two different types.
You go.
There can be more than one. You can list a couple.
Are you ready? We'll see if we're on the same page. We haven't talked about this. 3, 2, 1. Sinner and Saint. There you go. Sinner and Saint.
Okay.
If I didn't get injured, I would have loved it a lot more. But
What promotion was that for? Just so we can look it up.
That's for Smash Wrestling.
Smash Wrestling.
It is
yeah, it's going to go on YouTube.
Yeah, was that at the Rec Room shows in Toronto?
Yeah, that was at the Rec Room. Yeah. It was just one of those situations where we met those guys a few times and identified them as we identify tag teams that are better than us, and we try to catch them because that's what we do. Try to be the best tag team we can be. So we identified them as being a better tag team than us, and we worked real hard at trying to keep up with them and do a match that both teams could be proud of and have our style of art and cement our legacy a little bit with a match that we're happy to show people is a good representation of us, and everything went to plan besides Kaz's ankle dying. So yeah, we successful. Yeah, we'll send that to you guys as well. That'd be great. When that goes up and we can clip that up, that's a match we're super proud of.
Absolutely. Kaz, how did you hurt your ankle in that match?
I just landed I was doing
a jumping
knee, and then it just collapsed on my ankle.
Jeez.
And then it's not good. You'll see it if you watch the match.
Yeah.
Tyler, before you go on with the listener questions, I have a listener question myself, which goes hand in hand with that question. So I want to do it now.
Yeah.
You asked about the people they've already wrestled. Andrew Walsh from Ottawa, who is a front row regular at the C4 shows. You'll see him on the 28th for sure. He wants to know who your biggest dream match is. The people you haven't wrestled yet. Could be indie, could be not indie, doesn't matter. Who would ATO wrestle? What's the biggest tag match for ATO right now?
Well, there you go. That's a good question. All right. Well, if we break it into little subcategories,
sure.
In Ontario, Fweza and Vaughan. It's Fight or Flight.
Yeah, Fight or Flight. That would have been mine right away for sure. Yeah.
I had a spot, and I had a moment that me and Kazi were going to try and do on these guys, and we're not going to get a chance to do it. Someone's going to tell you what it was. I was going to put Fweza on the top and smack him one. And then Kaz, you ever see him do that jumping Rana where he just jumps up to the top and hooks the leg? He was going to do that. Fweza's spinning, and I was going to catch him and powerbomb on his head. So if Fweza's watching this, he needs to know that
that's just concussions.
He avoided death.
Somewhere Fweza has a headache right now and he doesn't.
Kaz is working him in Oshawa, so watch out for the running on that spot, right?
Yeah. And then beyond that, I think globally, not to say that there's no tag teams that are better than these guys, but I think Team DK would be a special one for us because we feel like they are the best tag team that's ever come out of Australia, bar none. And we
need to learn more about these guys, Tyler, for sure.
Yeah, well, they're like big time. They're New Japan, right? They've done. They were in WWE for a while, right?
I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know a whole lot about them. The biggest Australian tag team that I know of personally is Australian Open, Aussie Open. Sorry,
Aussie Open. That'd be another one. That'd be another one for sure. I think it's like the ones who've like obviously not saying no one's made it, but it's the ones that are like on TV now, like just representing our country because like we don't have many wrestlers like from our country. Just obviously we do. Don't get me wrong. We're like Ripley, Buddy, like all these great wrestlers, but they're very limited in terms of like how many American wrestlers there are, how many Canadian wrestlers there are.
And it's not necessarily the fact that they have name value that we're interested in. It's more the that after doing this for the 18 months we have a good understanding of it's it's near impossible to get from small town Australia all the way to WrestleMania, like Rhea Ripley did. Did she main event, mate? To go from Adelaide, South Australia to the main event of WrestleMania is, we can appreciate, the freakish amount of effort that would take. And then, we have so much respect for anyone that's done that. And the TMDK guys, to go back to them, they've been able to sustain it for so long. We know that not everyone knows a whole lot about them, but we'd implore people to check them out, because they've had I think they've had a fascinating career in terms of, there was no path for them. They came into an Australian wrestling scene where hardly anybody at all had made it anywhere, ever. And so they, on their own, got themselves to the States and spent all that. They told me that they maxed out credit cards just trying to get to shows in the States to get some sort of name value. They went and did a Harley race camp where the Noah scouts were there, and then Noah gave them an opportunity, and then they won the Noah tag titles, and they went to New Japan and got signed to WWE, and they just carved out their completely unique path. And 20-something years later, they're still going, and they're the New Japan, USA, and Japan tag team champions. So, before those guys have hung it up, which hopefully is not for a while, we'd like to definitely get that match. I don't know, you probably get that I don't know.
Yeah, I think off the top of my head. There's heaps.
Too many.
There's a lot.
We're told that's an Australian thing, eh? Heaps.
We have A, so
Yeah. I'm gonna throw that same question then. I'm gonna do something weird. I never do this. Tyler, dream match. ATO versus who? Go.
Oh, I'm a tag team guy.
Yeah.
I'm a
Didn't
tag
see
team
that coming,
guy.
did ya?
Right off the top of my head, one of my favorite tag teams to watch right now is in TNA wrestling. It's the ABC, the Bullet Club guys. They're Chris Bay and Ace Austin. I think you guys would match up well with them. I think.
I think so too.
They did a tour of Australia for WSW, which is like a touring Australian company that brings in a lot of names and whatnot. And they did a 3-way tag down under. There was against the Untouchables, who I mentioned before, and the Parade, who I mentioned before. Actually, that's on YouTube, I believe. So if you're interested in Australian wrestling, that's a good way to start. But
absolutely,
those guys can seriously go. So yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. I've got 2 more listener questions here, and then I'll ask my final question, and we'll let you guys enjoy your evening. The first one is from our good friend Brian Weiss, in my opinion, the best photographer in all of Ontario. He says, we always hear how much Canadians are like Australians. A, is this true? And B, what are the main differences between living in Canada and Australia?
Well, no snow. That's a huge one. And the weather doesn't get below 5 degrees. So that's
that's an obvious one.
What would you reckon?
Differences?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in terms of the people, they are very similar, actually. Really, really similar people in general. I guess, like, what would you say? Like the connection to nature, like the way that you guys would go skiing or go out to cottage country or things like that in Ontario. We would have the same thing, but we'd go to a beach house or whatever. And it's sort of a similar lifestyle in general, just with obviously different sort of parameters. And then, I guess there's some differences. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be a heat magnet here. You ready?
Already.
This is the first controversial thing I'm going to say. The younger generation of Canadians, not all of them, I'm sure most of them are probably good, but a lot of the ones I've come into contact with in the workforce, in real life, not in wrestling, kind of lazy. A lot of sick days and, sleeping.
I can no heat here, buddy. No heat here at all. I can say this because I'm in my 40s. So, but I can agree. I can't agree with you more. I'm a man. I'm going to get in trouble. I manage a restaurant. I work with the younger generation. I know no one listens to my show, so this is okay for me to say.
Yeah.
Fuck, are you right? Oh my God,
man.
You're not wrong. And I'm trying hard. I have 2 young children myself. I'm hoping the next generation will fix this. But a lot of them title into a lot of laziness. You're not wrong, man.
Yeah. And you know what? I think it's just one of those things.
It's a North American thing.
I think it's
I'm
overall.
going to blame the Americans. I'm going to blame the Americans.
Yeah.
So, they say that Australia is 10 years behind North America with everything. And I think that we're probably in that exact boat now. I think that just, like the shorter attention spans and the short-term media that people are consuming, I feel like people's capacity to concentrate for long periods of time is probably taking a hit. And Australia is probably 10 years behind, and I'm sure we'll have the same issues in 10 years. But jokes aside, I would say that almost both of us have made some of the best friends.
Yeah.
Forget wrestling, we've made some of the
Yeah.
best friends of our lives in Canada. We
Yeah.
feel like you guys have a great outlook on life, and there's some positives as well, like small things. But back home, I would say that nothing at all happens Monday to Thursday, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday kind of things are happening, and then Sunday's quiet too. But here, people are much more willing to like go to sit in the park and have a couple of beers, or go to a music show, or go to a stand-up comedy night during the week. And there's stuff to do, and people are out and about and trying to make the most of life. So Canadians as a whole are definitely a very good people.
Even like when like road tripping with some of the boys and stuff, like we'll be friends with those guys for probably for life. Like you speak to them for so long, like sometimes we're in cars for 6-7 hours, and
each way, so
each
that's
way,
12 hours.
You're literally just you're not gonna not speak because but like you just speak, you just mates, just chat shit.
And I feel like those long form conversations, we've gained an understanding of like how people grew up here and why people are the way they are here, and so we definitely feel like we're qualified to do comparisons, and they're very similar.
Yeah,
you're not wrong. I gotta tell you, I've been lucky enough to be good friends with a handful of Aussies in my life, and I gotta tell you one thing I've learned for sure is, other than the Irish, they're the only other people I think on earth that can keep up with us drinking. Aussies can fucking drink. The other thing, and I've never met an Australian person I haven't asked this question to, and everybody hates me for it, but I have to ask you. Every single Aussie I've ever met, I ask, is Vegemite actually good?
We both love Vegemite.
Yeah.
Actually, wait here. I'm gonna do an advertisement.
This is the greatest day of my life.
Absolutely.
We got a Vegemite plug coming here.
Listen up. You ready? So Vegemite is the classic, right? Vegemite, everyone knows Vegemite.
Can you actually find it? Can you actually find it in Canada? Is it in Canada?
No, don't worry about Vegemite. I'll get to that. But listen, first of all, you Canucks, you all eat it wrong. Every time I see someone try it, they put a spoon in the Vegemite thing, and they're like, "Oh my god, it's so bitter." That's just absurd behavior. That would be like saying you don't like garlic because you ate a spoonful of minced garlic and it didn't taste good. It's like, come on, behave yourself. But there is an alternative to Vegemite in Australia that's less rigid. It's like more of a gooey spread, and it's sweeter instead of being so salty. And it's called Promat, and that is the good stuff. If you ever see that at any shop, get your hands on that.
It's good.
Yeah, you what's not to love?
There it is, eh? That's the Canada exclusive.
You have to talk.
It's like something I had on my finger after I changed my daughter's ass earlier today.
All right, guys. I have one more listener question, and then I'm going to throw it to the final question that we like to ask all of our guests here. The last listener question I have is, did you guys ever have, it's from Jonah, from our good friend Jonah from the Rewind, Recap, Relive podcast, which I highly recommend checking out. Great advice for a lot of the younger talent out there. And he wants to know if you guys had any interactions with Rhea Ripley at all, and what your thoughts were with the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view that just happened in Australia.
Yeah, did you ever meet?
Nah, I met her I actually met her once in Toronto.
You did?
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah, I was doing a seminar. Buddy was doing a seminar, and I met her. She was lovely. I think she's great. I really heard great things about Rhea. So, but in terms of the Elimination Chamber, so that's in our hometown.
Yeah, that was.
So they actually came to our hometown when we were away. So that was.
It's bitter.
It's just.
It is what it is.
I'm okay with saying this. I don't care. I did the little WWE. It wasn't really like an official tryout. It was more of just I don't know. I met with the WWE once, and they told me that to have any chance at breaking through, you need to be traveling and get in front of their eyes. So I left the country, and then they bring the first ever premium live event ever in history to my home city and host a tryout there. So, they played one on me. I appreciate that.
They owe you one.
Yeah, I know they do owe me one.
Did you ever?
But I have been around Rhea Ripley just a couple of times as well. When I was like, I think we started maybe around the same time. She started real young as well, and so did I. she's actually younger than me. So our timelines crossed a little bit. One time I don't even know if she'll remember this, but we did it was at New Horizons Pro Wrestling in Perth. We did a thing where we were trying to recruit her to a stable that I was in. And so she was like making her entrance. And before I went out there, the promoter, who was a good guy, this is just a miscommunication, but he said, we want you to we want it to be very clear that you're forcing her to be there because she's not going to join and then the crowd's going to fall in love with her, right? And so he said, when you're on the way out, she's going to try and walk backwards into the thing. Just keep moving her forward. So you're forcing her to go to the ring so she can finally turn around on you. But he didn't tell her that. So she was walking to the ring like normal and she wasn't turning around like we thought was supposed to. And so I just shoved her in the back because that's what he told me to do. So that was she probably, I don't know, maybe she hates me because I shoved her over an entrance. 2015 or something.
She was the reason.
There's a picture of you in NXT going, "Don't hire this guy."
That's why they did that premium.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. She's the reason why they waited until you came to Canada. All right, the last question I want to ask you guys. This has been a blast. I feel like we could keep going for hours here, but when you look back, I usually ask, when you look back at your career, and you can answer this as well if you want. What's something that just makes you personally happy? Whether it was a great match or a road trip or something backstage or whatever. But we can do that for either your entire career or specifically in Canada. When you look back at everything you guys have done over the last couple of years, what are some moments that you're just going to think back on and just make you smile from a personal standpoint?
I think to rapid fire them for me, it would be there's some things I'm proud of in different ways. Like I feel like I had such high quality training from Shane Haston, Lance Storm, and I feel like I've become a wrestler that my trainers would be proud of. I try not to, we don't always succeed, but I try to respect the rules of wrestling. I try to respect the referees. I try to, make my matches make sense, and I try to be a positive. A positive reflection of the wrestling industry as a whole, which is what was shown to me as a young man. And I feel like I've done a good job being somebody that they would be happy, to be seen on shows and to have their name attached to. And then obviously the Ring of Honor thing, like some wrestlers will probably pretend it's not a big deal, but nobody can ever take that away from us. And if we never do anything again or never have another match that anybody sees, well, at least 2 or 3 times because the AEW, WWE, New Japan, that's the top tier of wrestling, right? That's full-time professional elite wrestling. Some might say all elite wrestling.
I see what you did there.
It's terrible. But yeah, to at least get the experience to wrestle a match for them and do things the professional way at least twice. Nobody can ever take that away from us. We're obviously both very proud of that. And then last one for me would just be like I said before, you have to have confidence in wrestling, obviously. And I think that I've trained hard and put so much time into this that I think I'm good at it. And to come here, like I said, and get validation from fans and get the great reactions that we did and get put in the great spots that we did and be treated so well like we have been basically the entire time we've been here, that's validation for me that, I backed myself to put a lot on the line in order to hope that was the result. And when it was the result, I think it's just, I'm proud that it worked out, I guess. We made it work more than anything,
Yeah, well, you pretty much did everything, man. Probably just like you said, the validation in terms of not letting your coaches down, show making people proud. The people who've trained you, things like that.
That also goes for the people that gave us the opportunities.
Yeah, exactly. For the ones not letting them down as well, the promoters, your coaches, your friends, people putting you over to think to other people.
And that's the way that business is done a lot of the time, is getting a recommendation or something. And an example of that would be Winnipeg Pro Wrestling, which is a wonderful company in Manitoba, obviously. They we send them a message and we basically cold called them and just said that, we have no relationship with you guys. We have nobody to vouch for us, but this is our stuff. Is there any chance that you could just do something with us? And if you don't like us, then never bring us back. But can we just have a shot? And we went over there and developed a relationship with the guys that run that place, and they ended up bringing us back and putting us in a tag title match. And there's little things like that where people took a chance on us when they didn't have to, and then we felt like we made them proud, which in turn obviously makes us proud. I think, so.
Yeah.
That's
pretty much
awesome.
that. And just, yeah. What you said, man. Good stuff.
You guys use the word respect, and I will say that respect is a two-way street. You got the respect from the fans because you earned the respect from the fans, and you got the respect from the community because you earned the respect from the community. It was a pleasure to get to work with you guys. It was a pleasure to get to know you guys. And I really enjoyed learning a little bit about the Australian wrestling scene too, because really before today, the biggest takeaway I knew about Australian wrestling was those friggin' Hulk Hogan tours that went over there a few years ago. Like those whatever that was, right?
Almost filled the territory.
Right? Yeah, that didn't look like it went over too well. So it's nice to see, you know, guys like you that are coming out there and showing what really is happening over there and to put the spotlight on those promotions. I'm going to turn it over to Mike to take us home here. But before we say goodbye, plug anything that you guys want to plug. And one more time, it was a pleasure to be around you guys.
Thank you, sir. And just before we get to the plugs, you know, it was obviously great getting to know you guys and everybody else on the Ontario scene. This goes as a message to everybody. We appreciate everybody welcoming us with such open arms. We had hardly any negative experiences, honestly. We didn't. So, you know, you two specifically, and then everybody in a broader sense, we appreciate everyone being so accepting and willing to take a chance on ATO. And maybe after we've been home for 6 months or something and we've been dominating Australia, we'll do another one and we'll catch you up to speed on the Australian wrestling scene.
When you guys are the goats again over there, right?
I know. When we
shit.
Well, the goats of Australia again. They've been away for a while. They got to go take the goatness back, right? Someone's pretending over there still, so they got to go and take it back.
Yeah, but yeah, plugs. My Instagram is Julian Ward 95, and I'm not good at
question mark.
I think my Instagram is Julian Ward 95. My Twitter is Julian Ward WA, but I don't check Twitter. Jump on the Instagram. There's some funny stuff on there. I try to keep it fresh, and then yeah, we honestly, guys, we
hey, what about mine, mate?
I'm finishing my club, mate. Before I'm done, we would appreciate you guys jumping on. Not you guys already did, but people jumping on board and following us and following us back to Australia, because we're definitely not disappearing. We're just on to the next territory.
Yeah.
You can plug your stuff.
It's very short. Just at the Kaz Jordan, guys. Appreciate the love, everything like that. And back to you, Jay Wood.
Well, and just for everybody, it's actually Julian_Ward 95. All right. So we want to make sure you get all. I got you. Don't worry. I got you.
Thank you, guys. Hey, I just want to entertain you guys between the ropes. You know?
That's it. And you guys definitely have an open invitation anytime that you have something going on over in Australia and you want to get the word out. You have a home here anytime. Just shoot a message.
Appreciate it, mate.
Thank you, guys.
100%.
Mike, take us home, my friend.
Before I take us home, I have 3 takeaways from this. Number one, I can't believe the mouthpiece of this organization was the shy one. That makes me so happy, Kaz.
Man, I'm not a good talker, but when it comes in the ring, I can yap, you know. So
and in the bar,
you know.
In the ring and at the bar, he's the man.
That's it. That's it.
Number 2, you're 100% right, Tyler. The respect is there in this community, but especially from the show. We can't wait to have you out again. I wasn't lying. I'll get up at 3 o'clock in the morning while you're having your lunch to do a show with you guys again. And number 3, you said something, Julian. You said that when you went to AEW, it was cool to wrestle professionally for a time. No matter where you go, you're wrestling professionally. We've watched you guys for a long time. You guys bring professional everywhere you go. And Tyler knows me well enough to know that I don't suck dick on the show. I don't.
A lot of it off the air, but
not on this show. I don't. I don't pander to people. If I give you a compliment, because I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I've only been lucky enough to see you guys live a handful of times. I've watched you on IWTV as many times as I can because Tyler wouldn't shut the fuck up about you.
I'm a tag team guy.
Every Barry wrestling show that I had to miss, he would say, you better watch this because of you guys. So thank you for everything you did for our community. You came and you gave something of yourself and of your scene to our scene. So thank you for that. And with that, on behalf of Australian Takeover, you have been counted out.
And fuck the Hulkamania tour.
Yeah.